Chapter 30, Section 3, Interactive Reader, pages 481 through 484, worth 12 points. Stars, galaxies, and the universe. Star groups. As you read this section, keep these questions in mind. What are the characteristics of a constellation? What are the three main types of galaxies? How is a galaxy with a quasar in it different from a typical galaxy? Page 481. What is a constellation? About how many years does it take light from Earth to reach the most distant stars in Orion? What are constellations? You can see many individual stars on a clear night. These visible stars are only some of the stars in the universe. Highlight: most of the stars we see are within 100 light years of Earth. Continue highlighting. Astronomers organize individual stars into patterns. These patterns of stars and the space around them are called, highlight, constellations. Continue highlighting. The stars in a constellation appear to be close together. Continue highlighting. However, these stars are not all the same distance from Earth. In fact, they may be very distant from each other. Highlight: stars appear to stay fixed in their patterns. The position of the stars in relation to each other do not seem to change over weeks and months. Highlight: this is because we view stars from a great distance. Under the diagram, highlight the stars in the constellation Orion are different distances from the Earth. Question number 1, what is a constellation? Answer: the organization of individual stars into patterns. Again, the organization of individual stars into patterns. Question number 2, about how many years does it take light from Earth to reach the most distant stars in Orion? On the diagram, highlight the two stars on the farthest right. They're the two dots between 1200 and 1400 on the black portion, or the two stars up in the air. Your answer to question number 2 is 1300 years. 1300 years. Dividing up the sky. Highlight: in 1930, astronomers around the world agreed on a standard set of 88 constellations. Continue highlighting. These constellations divide the sky into regions. Continue highlighting. You can use a map of the constellations to find a specific star. Page 482. Which type of cluster contains the most stars? What is a galaxy? What are multiple star systems? Highlight: stars are not always isolated or alone. Continue highlighting. Two or more stars may form multiple star systems. Continue highlighting. More than half of all sun-like stars are part of multiple star systems. Continue highlighting. Binary stars are pairs of stars that revolve around each other. Gravity holds the pairs of stars together. A binary star has a center of mass or barycenter. The stars orbit around the barycenter. When the two stars have similar masses, the barycenter is somewhere between the stars. If one star is more massive, the barycenter is closer to the more massive star. Highlight: multiple star systems can have more than two stars. For instance, two stars may revolve quickly around a common barycenter. A third star may revolve around the same barycenter slowly, farther away from the two stars. What is a star cluster? Highlight: Sometimes nebulas collapse to form groups of stars called clusters. Clusters can have hundreds or thousands of stars. The table below describes two types of clusters. Globular cluster, highlight globular cluster, highlight sphere, highlights up to 1 million stars. There are also open clusters, loosely shaped, a few hundred stars. Question number 3, which type of cluster contains the most stars? Answer, globular. What is a galaxy? Highlight, the universe has hundreds of billions of galaxies. Continue highlighting. A galaxy is a large group of stars, gas, and dust held together by gravity. Continue highlighting. Galaxies are the major building blocks of the universe. A typical galaxy has a diameter of about 100,000 light years. It may contain more than 200 billion stars. Distances to galaxies. Highlight. Astronomers can use stars to find distances to galaxies. For instance, astronomers can study giant stars called Cepheid variables. These stars brighten and fade in a regular cycle. Most Cepheid variables have cycles that range from 1 to 100 days. Highlight. The longer the cycle, the brighter the star's absolute magnitude is. Continue highlighting. Astronomers can compare a Cepheid variable's absolute magnitude and apparent magnitude to find the distance to the star. This distance tells astronomers the distance to the galaxy where the star is. Question 4, what is a galaxy? Answer, a large group of stars, gas, and dust. A large group of stars, gas, and dust held together by gravity. Held together by gravity. Page 483. Which type of galaxy contains more young stars? A spiral galaxy or an elliptical galaxy? What is the local group? Types of galaxies. Astronomers classify galaxies by shape. The most common type of galaxy is a spiral galaxy. Some spiral galaxies have a straight bar of stars through the center. These galaxies are called barred spiral galaxies. The other two types of galaxies are elliptical galaxies and irregular galaxies. Highlight, irregular galaxies make up a small percentage of the total known galaxies. The table below describes the three types of galaxies. Highlight, spiral galaxy. Flat arms that spiral around a center of bright stars. Highlight, billions of young stars, gas, and dust. Highlight, elliptical galaxy. A sphere or oval with a bright center. Highlight, a few young stars, not much gas and dust. Irregular galaxy. No particular shape. Low total mass, large amounts of gas and dust. Question 5. Which type of galaxy contains more young stars? A spiral galaxy or an elliptical galaxy? Answer is spiral. Spiral. The Milky Way. Highlight. Sometimes a cloud-like band is visible across the night sky. Continue highlighting. This band is called the Milky Way. Continue highlighting. We see this band of stars when we look through our own galaxy. Continue highlighting. The Milky Way is a spiral galaxy. The Sun is one of billions of stars in this galaxy. Each star orbits around the center of the galaxy. The Sun takes about 225 million years to complete one orbit around the galaxy's center. Highlight. About 30 other galaxies are within 5 million light years of the Milky Way. Continue highlighting. These galaxies and the Milky Way make up the local group. What are quasars? Highlight. The word quasar is a shortened term for quasi-stellar radio source. Through a telescope, highlight, a quasar looks like a small, faint star. However, quasars, highlight, are not related to stars. They are related to galaxies. Quasars appear in some very distant galaxies. Highlight, galaxies with quasars in them have very bright centers. Some quasars emit a stream of gas. The large amount of energy a quasar emits may be produced by a giant black hole. Highlight, the mass of this black hole may be billions of times the mass of our sun. Question number 6. What is the local group? 30 galaxies and the Milky Way. 30 galaxies and the Milky Way that are within 5 million light years of the Milky Way. Light years of the Milky Way. How can a constellation map help you find a specific star? How can astronomers use Cepheid variables to figure out how far away a galaxy is? What are the 3 main types of galaxies? How is a galaxy with a quasar in it different from other galaxies? Why did the stars in a constellation not seem to change position over time? Suppose the barycenter in a particular binary star system is much closer to one star than the other. What can you conclude about the relative masses of the stars in the binary star system? Question number 1, answer can be found on page 481. Constellations divide the sky into regions. Constellations divide the sky into regions. Question number 2, answer can be found on page 482. Astronomers can compare Cepheids, a Cepheid's apparent and absolute magnitudes. Astronomers can compare a Cepheid's apparent and absolute magnitudes to determine the distance to the star. To determine the distance to the star and its galaxy. Again, astronomers can compare a Cepheid's apparent and absolute magnitudes to determine the distance to the star and its galaxy. Question number 3. What are the 3 main types of galaxies? Answer can be found on page 483. Answer is spiral, elliptical, irregular. Again, spiral, elliptical, irregular. Question number 4. Answer can again be found on page 483. They have very bright centers. They have very bright centers. Question number 5. Answer can be found on page 481. Because they are extremely far away. Because they are extremely far away. Question number 6. answer can be found on page 482. The star the barycenter is closest to, the star the barycenter is closest to, has more mass than the other star. Has more mass than the other star. Again, the star the barycenter is closest to has more mass than the other star.